Finished? Finished. We are now starting with a very small and very simple topic that is called as delivery channels for information. How information reaches the last person or the authorized recipient. There are n number of ways. Intranet is nothing but the networking of computers within the organization. I need not tell you about email. Internal newsletters. As a newspaper, okay, is rotated throughout the country, okay, it is sent throughout the country. In the same way, newsletter is a newspaper of about the company only, which is moving within the company. Meetings, straight face-to-face discussion, notice board, put up the message on the notice board. Manuals, if you want to understand how a process works, refer to the manual of the process. Personal digital assistants, on your gadget you can have the information. And next is social networking. Facebook, Twitter, and such things. Okay, WhatsApp. So these are the various delivery channels. Now, what should be the right channel, or what things you should consider before finalizing the channel? Never say that if the technology is there, it will take care of it. No, technology is for helping. It does not mean that technology will do everything. So it has to be more than just intranet. Every time using the internet is not fine. Okay. Tomorrow lecture will start at 6:30. And it is a simple way of communicating. Na? I'm communicating with you that tomorrow's lecture is at 6:30. Finished. That's it. Why there is a need of putting up a SMS or putting up on WhatsApp and this and that? It is not required. So when there are some simple methods, you should be using it. It's very important that you understand the staff needs. What is popular with the staff? What they would like to have? They would like to have a telephonic conversation, or they would like to have a SMS, or what? Once I was having a lecture, and that was not in my timetable. It was scheduled at the last moment. I was free that day, no doubt, but it was scheduled at the last moment. I didn't went for that lecture because I never know I had that lecture. I got a call from the branch. Sir, your lecture, you are not. But I never know. Sir, yesterday only I mailed. But it is not necessary that I am checking the mail every day. Is it compulsory that you should check your mail every day? No. Whenever I have access to my computer, I'll check the mail. Now I know that every Monday or Tuesday the timetable is coming, so I'll check on that day. If you want any extra lecture, okay, you should have called me. Or at least you should have put up an SMS. No sir, you must be having an internet on your phone, na? So you will directly get the email. I don't have internet on my phone. Is it compulsory to have an internet? I cannot afford it. Finish. I don't have. Then what? What I am comfortable with? Call. Okay, I am in lecture. Put a SMS. After the lecture, when I see my phone, okay, I'll be able to see now what the SMS is. So what the staff is required, what the staff is comfortable with, what the staff is comfortable with, you should follow those procedures. That is understanding staff needs. Formalizing traditional channel. So whatever is the traditional channel, which is very, very popular, formalize it, accept it. Okay, that's nothing but the delivery channel for information. Next is called as Delivery channel for products. Now this is like explaining a 4th standard or 5th standard student how to deliver the product. Are buy it from a shop. Okay, buy it from a shop, go and buy, or give the order in the shop, they will deliver it at your home. Buy from a departmental store, they will deliver at your home. Buy online, they will give a home delivery, and pay cash online. It is so simple. Wastage of time. Okay, we are now moving to that topic which is technical, and that is, what are the various controls which we require to implement in business process automation? Control is very important. No matter what it is, control is very important. You are driving, control is important. When a student, when a person, when a child achieves certain age, control is very important. When you are eating, control is very important. Each and everywhere, you understand it, na? Control is very important. Acha, now listen, please. That is nothing but the importance of control in life. Importance of control in life. Now, what exactly is the need? There is a need to generate accurate information, complete information, and reliable information. The top level management, any level of management requires accurate data, no mistakes. Complete, it should not be incomplete, and reliable, we can rely on it. And such data will be used for decision making. And to give such type of data, we need to set controls on n number of things. What are these n number of things? That only we will be discussing, and that's the last part of this particular topic. Explain the different types of control in business process. There are types, and in that there are again subtypes. Okay? So that is nothing but the controls in business process. Now, this particular controls in business process are finalized through proper policies, procedures, and practices. Every department, the top level management along with their other departmental chiefs should sit together, should finalize a policy, should finalize a procedure or a practice. Whatever is the practice, that should be converted into a computerized one. This is how you can have a control. What are the objectives of having control? Number one is called as authorization. Authorization means whatever transactions takes place in your organization, later it should be approved by the authority. If it is not approved by the authority, then it is not considered as void. Simple example, you take a leave, you remain absent. Okay? After that you inform that, sorry, I was not able to come yesterday because of this and this problem. If your boss is approving it, then only it is considered as a leave. Otherwise, it is not considered as leave. So, approval by the right authority. So, whatever transaction is being generated, it has to be approved. Suppose there is a purchase transaction. It has to be approved by the purchase man. Yes, this purchase had took place. Then only that particular entry is what? A right entry. It is acceptable. Otherwise, that entry is a void entry. Then, completeness. Whatever data you are generating, okay, no transaction can be omitted from it. It is very simple. If you omit one single entry, that profit figure will be wrong. Balance sheet will not be tallied. That is a different story. But anyhow you tally it. That is the skill. Okay, but will it give the right information? No. So it should be complete. It should be accurate. Accurate means the data that you are having should be accurate. Suppose the sale is of 1 lakh, it should be 1 lakh only. Don't skip a zero. Zero is having no value. Skip it. But it will create a problem. That is nothing but something called as accuracy. And all the data should be recorded on time. That is called as accuracy. Validity. It should be valid. Only lawful entries are allowed. Only that transactions that have taken place, only those entries should be recorded. That is called as a lawful entry. And last is physical safeguarding and security. That means all your assets, organizational assets, data or information should be accessed only by the authorized people. These are nothing but the objectives of having controls in the business process automation. And one more, error handling. Errors are bound to occur. You cannot say that your system is a foolproof system. Some error will take place. No problem if an error takes place. We are not worried about it. But we should correct that error. That is called as corrective action. You will correct only when you find it. Na? So you need to have a error detection system. When it occurs, you should correct it. And what errors had occurred, you are supposed to prepare a log of it. And that has to be reported to the management. So these are the various objectives of what? Controls. What are the different types of controls? One is called as application control and the other one is called as the internal control. Now, application control is that control which aims to prevent or to detect a particular error. First and the foremost thing is we'll try to prevent the error. There are n number of ways of preventing an error. We'll be discussing all these things in detail. And by God's disgrace, suppose if an error takes place, can't help, na? Then it has to be corrected. That's the idea of a application control. See, whenever we are talking about the data, okay, it has to be properly observed right from it is originated till it is properly disposed. Okay, entire journey of that data or information one should know, and controls should be put wherever possible. It's like, for example, the first control will be when the data is inputted in that system. That is a control. When a report is generated, you will put up a control. When the report is transferred to some another system, that time you can keep a control. When the data has been actually processed, that time you can keep a control. So there are n number of ways of having control. So controls will be kept, controls will be enforced throughout the journey of the data, right from being originated or being created till it has been properly disposed to a specific place, to a specific output, we can say, or to a specific storage. That is nothing but something called as what? Types of controls. Next is called as internal controls. Internal controls idea or internal controls have to be implemented by the employees themselves. Like safeguarding the assets. Whatever are your assets, the organizational assets and data have to be protected from unauthorized access. Then we will try to prevent a fraud. And if a fraud happens, we will try to detect the fraud. We will see to it that all the records which are being filed are accurate. And whatever financial records are being prepared, it should be prepared on time. A final account statement has to be prepared immediately after the close of the financial year. If your final accounts is prepared after 5 years, the close of a financial year, will it be accepted? Is it of any use? So doing it on time, preparing the records on time, preparing the statements on time, that is called as nothing but internal controls. All in all, I can say it is the controls which are exercised by the auditor, the internal auditor. So it is a function of the internal auditor. Okay, now this is a technical question, important question. I think you should write this. Last two we skipped because I know it was worthless. Delivery? Don't write, not required. Not required means it's simple, you can do it on your own. Finished? Finished? Yes or no? Data origination to disposal. The controls are to be kept right from first point to last point. Finished? Finished. Murchacha. Finished? Hey, listen. We have learned we are now starting with input control and what are the techniques used in input control. Now, input is a very, very important part of a process. If the start is right, then only we can expect the end to be right. So it is very important that whatever input you are giving should be accurate and it should be complete. Input feeding is that particular area which is prone to errors. Why? Because human intervention is there at its maximum limit. In processing, you may not have human intervention. While taking output, forget about human intervention. Okay, but when the data is being fed inside the system, obviously maximum number of time it is done with the help of human beings only. So here there is a maximum chance of having wrong input. So we need to develop certain techniques so that we can stop these problems, or we can control the input errors. Number one in this is called as source document control. Now we are talking about the physical documents. I sell something, a bill is generated. I purchase something, the bill is generated. These bills, these official papers, vouchers, transaction papers have to be preserved very, very well, because they will authenticate that a particular transaction had been in existence. So that is keeping control on all the physical documents. Even if an error occurs later, it can be cross-verified by checking these particular documents. Okay, because this particular document is checked by two persons. When I'm raising the sales bill, I'm checking it, and when I'm giving a copy to other person, he's also checking it, because he has to pay accordingly. There is a double check. Same is with the case of purchase. It will be raised by him. He will check it to the best of his knowledge, but before paying, I will also check it. So these documents are always considered as right. The problem is when the data of the documents is punched inside the system. So these documents should be well preserved. So keeping a control on all the physical documents. And the most important one is data coding controls. This is the time when the data errors occur when feeding of the data. What types of errors can happen? Suppose we are feeding some number. A error called as addition error can happen. You have an extra character. You want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you end up adding additional 7. And truncation, you're omitting some character. You want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You omit 1. Then transcription, that is nothing but recording of a wrong character. You want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but instead of 5 you're typing 8. Why? God knows. Transposition is nothing but, it's like just changing of positions of the characters. Like you want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you end up having 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Just the adjacent character change. Double transposition is again the same thing, but having more number of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, 3, 1 has jumped 2 spaces. Such type of errors, this is nothing but something called as double transposition errors. That is called as reversing characters. That is nothing but different types of errors. Then you need to put some controls on batch processing. Whenever the data has been processed in terms of batches, you need to have certain control, and that is called as batch processing control. What is the control? The biggest problem of batch processing is there is a time gap between occurrence of the data and processing of the data. So it becomes your responsibility to protect this data. We have seen n number of movies, okay, where there is a judicial system and a person leaves for the court. There is a distance in between, and anything can happen with that person. If he is a key witness, anything can happen. So it becomes the duty of the police to take care of that witness. In the same way, here, whenever we are talking about batch processing, the data is not immediately processed. If the data is immediately processed, then there is no problem. No can tamper with that data. And if it is tampered, we will come to know. But there is a time gap. So you have to take special care of that particular data. The final objective being, when the data is in transit, it should not be lost. There are n number of ways of losing data. Purposely, or it is just an accident. Anything can happen. That is nothing but something called as a batch control. That is again an input type of a control. Again, some technical things. Finished with first 2-3 lines? Sorry. First day.
What's the link regarding the
Finished? Finished? I'm hearing both yes sir and no sir. My brain is confused. Yes? Write fast. Finished. Hello. We are now moving to the last type of control, and that is called as a validation control. Now listen. Validation type of a control, that's on input control, is we are moving to the last type of input control, that is validation control. Now validation control is actually a control on the input that we are having. Now here, this particular validation control on input will be at two different levels. One is at the field level. Now please don't ask me what is a field. You know what is a field. When the data is accepted inside the field, the data is checked whether it is right or wrong. The first one is called as limit check. Limit check means whenever you are feeding some data, it cannot exceed a certain limit. Whenever you are withdrawing your money, it cannot exceed your balance amount. Am I right or wrong? Whenever you are entering marks of a student, it should be between the range 0 to 100. It cannot go below 0. It cannot be beyond 100. That is called as a limit check. Then we have the picture check. Picture check means that checking the data type. Whenever you are typing the name of a person, numbers cannot be allowed. Whenever you are typing the age of a person, characters cannot be allowed. Then valid code check. Valid code check is also called as foreign key in database management system. Like suppose I am generating a result sheet of all the students. The result sheet should have those numbers which are present in the master file of the student. Okay, so those enrollment numbers for whom the result is generated, okay, those enrollment numbers should be present in the student database file where their name, address and all these things are there. If any other particular sheet, other particular record is there, then that record is invalid because it is not having any tracing data. Nothing could be traced. Just one record is being generated. That is wrong. Okay, and this comes when we are making payment. We are making payment for different employees. So I'll be getting a total. Suppose I'm paying around 1.25 CR. So all the records, all that will be summed up to get that 1.25 CR. So those entries should be a valid one, na? There only those entries can appear which are actually in the employee's record. Only my employee should be given salary. If you put 3-4 dummy records, okay, I'll sign and whatever is the amount remaining. Oh, that cannot be done. That is called as what? Valid code check. Then checking the digits, the data length. The data length. For example, the employee code, it is of 3 digits only. You cannot have a 4-digit entry. You are checking on the input. And the last one is called as a cross check. Many a times cross check is nothing but checking it against some physical paper. Okay, like for example, I'm supposed to give money. I'm supposed to give money to a particular person. That is nothing but my payment. But it is against some purchase. So I'm checking this payment amount against the purchase amount. That is called as the cross check. This is nothing but something called as the field interrogation, checking the data when the data is being sent to a field. Then next one is called as record interrogation. Entire record can be checked. Number 1, sequence check. That means no transaction or no one particular record was missing for processing. Okay, it happens with Mumbai University many times. One student will not get result only. Many times the entire record is skipped. Such things do happen. That is called as the sequence check. Next is called as format completeness checks. It means you should see to it whether all the fields are properly checked or not. You are expecting 80%. Okay, expecting 80%. And when you get your result, it is only 60%. And then you come to know that you have given 7 papers, but you have received marks only for 5 papers. So some fields were missing. Such missing is not done now. That is to be checked. Then redundant data checks, repeating the fields. You are expecting 60% and you get 95%. Some fields were repeated in finding the total. That is also a blunder. That has to be checked. And next is called as a password, to check whether the users who are using it are authorized or not. That is nothing but something called as validation control. Understanding? So that was the last type of input control check. Note this down so that we can move to the next one, that is called as process control. Finished? Finished? Acha, there is a small thing that when I said for passwords, it is authorizing the users. Are they authorized for the data? Now, user can have three different types of permissions. One is called as read. That means he can only see what the data is. Next is called as write. That means he also has the power to change it or add to it. Last one is called as execute. He can just run the system and check it. He cannot see the contents of it. That is called as read, write, execute. RW stands for read, write, execute. Finished? Finished? We now move to the next type of control, and that is called as process control. I said that validation control was the last of input control. Now the input is already given. Now the data is in processing. At the time of processing, what can be done? Now, process control refers to the controls when the data is being processed. And here the idea is the completeness of the data and the accuracy of the data when it is in processing. Now, such type of controls need to be enforced by the front end application. See, the server is at the back end. Why it is called as back end? Because it is not coming in contact with the users. And the front end application is normally the client application, which comes in contact with the user. So such type of control process should be conducted by the front end application. What it can check? It can check the run to run totals. Now what is this run to run totals? I am having certain data. Suppose I am having raw materials, okay, of a specific quantity. I put it inside the processing. And when I pass it to the next process, okay, I should see to it that the quantity remains the same. So the totaling over here at process A and the total over here at process B should be same. Now when process B is performing, it adds some more contents to it. The quantity increases, suppose, in 5%. So the output given by process B should be 5% more as compared to the output given by process A. Or you can say that the input of process C should be comparing, or the total should be compared with the output of process A. This is called as run to run total. Checking the totals or checking the data at the pass of each process. Then we have reasonable verification. Whenever we are talking about a reasonable verification, it means that we are verifying the data of two different fields, whether they are same. I am depositing employer's contribution fund in their PPF account. But at the same point of time, same amount of money has to be deducted from the employee's gross pay. Both should be same. This particular type of a check is called as what? Reasonable verification. It is at the time of processing. Then field initialization. Now, whenever we are programming, whenever we are processing, there are lakhs and lakhs of records. So every time new data in the field is filled by a new record, or I should be saying every time the variable gets new data from the field. So before it is getting new data from the field, the old data should be cleared. The old data should be cleared. And clearing means what? Initialization. You remember at the time of flowchart we used to say set space equal to 10. That means that variable will be filled with 10 spaces. There will be nothing inside it. Set age equal to 0. That means we are initializing that age with the value 0. We expect that when the variable starts, it should be having the value 0. That is called as field initialization. Next one is called as exception reports. Some records might not be processed for n number of reasons. That record might not be processed. Then we are supposed to find out what was the reason for the non-processing. One of the reason could be that record was not existing in the master record. That's why it was not processed. That means here we get a link of a fraud. That is called as exception reports. And last is called as recovery controls. If the process goes fail, then what? We need to restart it. So we need to have the backup of that particular data. So it is also referred to as the backup control. Okay. So that is nothing but different types of controls enforced at the time of processing. Finished? Hello. Second last question. Database control. Please be calm or I skip this question. Database control means here whenever n number of transactions are taking place, they are all accessing the database. Am I right? You are adding a record, it affects the database. You are deleting a record, it affects the database. You are modifying the record, it is affecting the database. You are preparing a report, it is affecting the database. You are trying to have controls on different fields, it is affecting the database. So the database itself should maintain certain controls. So database control refers to protecting the data integrity on the database. The data in any way should not lose its validity. I mean to say it should not be tampered. The data should not be corrupted inside the database. So what are the different types of check that we will put on a database control? Number one is called as the sequence check of transaction and master files. Whenever transaction takes place, it is checked with the masters. Am I right or wrong? The example I gave you for a foreign key. Suppose a particular account is being processed for some withdrawal or for some deposits. Then you are supposed to check that such particular records are existing in the masters. Then and then only such particular transaction will take place. Suppose you are in old days, Axis Bank card would not run on a HDFC ATM. So if you swipe a Axis Bank card, it won't find the data on the HDFC system. So obviously you are not accessing the right data. Now everything is integrated. Axis Bank card, you put it in HDFC or in ICICI or in any other bank. Now it is all Visa connected. So there has to be proper relationship set up between the transaction and the masters. Then and then only that particular record is a valid one. Then there are various transactions taking place. Now transactions takes place any point of time. Transactions takes place at any point of time. First the last transaction, then the first transaction. In any way it will be taking place. But how will you come to know whether all the transactions are properly processed or not? Checking it with the masters, because master will be having it in a specific sequence, right? Now there are 1 lakh students. 1 lakh students. Every student will be having a proper number, right? But when papers are corrected, okay, it is given to n number of people. Now it is not necessary that 1 to 100 papers will be coming first. First some other suppose it is 71,000 to 72,000 is coming first. So here the processing is done anyway, but whether everything is been checked or not, okay, that is ensuring whether all the records are being processed or not, that can be checked only when we compare it with the masters. Again here we are having a relationship with the database. And last is process multiple transactions for a single master record. Now there is one organization, okay, who is selling the goods. So one batch is sold. So that will be one entry in the masters. But that particular batch is not kept at one particular place. That batch will be split up into different areas. For me, selling Coca-Cola bottles, for me it is one consignment of 10,000 bottles. But will that 10,000 bottles will be at one particular place? One will go in one particular area, some will go in some particular area. So here we are checking one record against many records of the buyer. That is nothing but again a database control. Understanding? Okay. That is your second last one, database control. Finished. This last question. Again, you are wasting your time. I could fit in some more number of flowcharts. Should I start? Last type of control is called as the output control. Now, output control is very different from different types of controls that we have already learned. It's different from input, from process and database. Here it is more about the people who are accessing it and not the output that we are giving. I'll explain. Output control, it ensures that the data delivery is consistent and secured. Any person requiring any information, giving that information is nothing but output, but giving that information on time is very, very important, and that is nothing but the output control. You should give the output on time, and there might be some sensitive information as output, so your data should be secured. Okay. Now there are various forms of output, like you can give the output in a printed form, you can give the output in electronic form, you can give the output in encrypted form. Okay, so you need to analyze what is the right form of the output, and depending upon that you are supposed to give the output. The most important thing about the output is the confidentiality of the output should be maintained and the integrity of the output should be maintained. That means whatever output I am giving, the same output should be received by the other person. It should not be tampered in the way, it should not be manipulated in the way. That is called as integrity of output. Now output, when to give output is also very important. There is something called as batch processing, where the output is not required to be given at the same point of time. But if it is online processing, then the output is required to be given immediately. So again, it is checking at what time the output should be given. Now what are the points you will keep in mind while securing output control? Number one, storage of sensitive and critical forms. Many a times the output is very, very sensitive. An agreement is the output which is on a stamp paper. It has to be kept proper, it has to be secured properly. Agreement of a specific flat or a specific property, it is well preserved or not. Okay, then negotiable instruments. I hope you understand what are various negotiable instruments. Will you keep your checkbook anywhere? Huh? No, na? It is really very dangerous. So one needs to be very, very sensitive or very, very careful while storing such type of output forms. Then monitoring of the output. Constant monitoring is required. Okay, monitoring is required means when the output is been delivered, who is taking it? Okay, who is the person who is accessing it? That is called as monitoring of the output programs. Then, whenever you are having the output in a printout format, you should be very much sure that this particular data is to be printed. Now, once the data is printed, it cannot be easily hidden. So, the confidentiality could be compromised. See, once I have the data inside the computer, and I want to protect this data, immediately I give a password. Instantly it is secured. But when I'm having a hard copy, it is very difficult to protect it. Anyone can steal it. Okay, if I'm keeping it somewhere safe also, there is a chance that person could access it. So it is very important that whenever you are keeping a control on printouts, it should be safe and secured. Then comes report distribution and collection control. Reports are distributed to a number of people. It is important that this particular reports should land in the right hand and it should go to the right person. The statement that I want to give to my chartered accountant directly falls in the hands of income tax officer. Are you understanding what is my problem? Are you understanding what the problem will be? Getting it or not? That is called as what? Report distribution and collection control. Collection means that the data which is to be collected, obviously it's an output, has to be collected on time. Then the retention control. Some data is required to be disposed of after a specific period of time, after a specific duration. So once that duration is over, you need to scrap that data. And last but not the least is called as recovery control. That means if the data is lost or destroyed somewhere, in transit maybe, can we recover that data? So for that you should have certain mechanism, and the simple mechanism is a backup. And with this, we have finished off with the 5th chapter. Of course, let me tell you, please, you are supposed to write it, na? Of course, there are some questions that I have skipped, but they are very simple to understand. And listen one thing before you write. Don't be worried about the exams. What book I should refer, what more reference book I should refer. Take my words for granted. Believe me, the material that I'll be giving is sufficient to clear your exams. The language that is being used, it is very simple to understand. I have done a homework of almost around 1.5 months. I have been doing research on these notes. Research means finalizing the notes. If I feel that a particular statement cannot be understood by a student, I try to decode that statement into 2-3 statements. Those words which are very difficult to understand, I have seen to it that you don't require a dictionary or you don't require that Google besides you. Okay, everything will be very, very clear. There is no need to refer any other book. There is no need to refer the module also. All the questions which are expected or which are important are in the notes. Don't be worried. Don't keep on asking people what do you refer, what do you do. Trust yourself. Go through the notes. Don't skip the questions. This is the first year. That's why I'm saying don't skip the questions. Okay? And how will you study? Open the book. That is the way you study. Don't keep it for the last moment. Last moment, 1 month before, sir, how to study? That's an invalid question. Irrelevant question. Start studying. And to the best of my knowledge, you should be getting the notes maybe by the end of this month. I'm giving you a very high limit. Okay, always the commitment should be given which can be easily achieved. If I say 15 and you get a 20, will shout out my name. So I'm saying 30. And if you get a 22 also, you'll be happy. Sir said 30, but we are getting 8 days early. That's the limit. Okay? Don't worry about studying. Go through the notes. These points will help you. Try to memorize these points. And in the exams, if you elaborate these points also now, your answer is done. You have done all the hard work in the class itself. But just keep a touch with the syllabus. That's it. Okay? It's fine, it's fine. And it is not a speech. Output control. Finished. Draw a flow chart. DAF2, that is draw a flow chart. DAF, draw a flow chart. DAF2, accept average of a student. DAF2, accept average of a student. And display class as follows. On the next line, average greater than equal to 75. Distinction. Next, 60 to 75. First class. 45 to 60. How you know your class very well? Second class. 35 to 45 per class. Shh. Hello, please. I need silence to start the solution. I said, if you want me to start the solution, I need silence. We have said start, right? We require certain variables. We are supposed to accept the average. So I say set average equal to 0. Please don't write. Please don't write. Average is how much? 0, because it has to be a numeric. Then we are supposed to accept this average. So we say input average equal to 11. Input average. Okay. Now we will check one condition at a given point of time. And that is whether the average is greater than or equal to 75. I am checking for distinction. So I'll say if average greater than equal to 75, if this is yes, then display distinction, right? If this is no, I'm supposed to check for first class. But when checking first class, there are two conditions. One, it has to be greater than or equal to 60, and at the same point of time, it should be less than 75. So two conditions I have to put. But if you analyze this particular chart or this particular flow, if the condition is no, the first condition is no, it is quite obvious that the average is less than 75. Means I have to now check only one part, that is if it is greater than or equal to 60. So this is how you can remove one condition from your flow chart. Now I say if average greater than or equal to 60, if this is yes, then I would say display first class. Right? Now I am planning for second class. Hey, your class, second. I am planning for second class. Two conditions are required to be satisfied. It should be greater than or equal to 45, and at the same point of time it should be less than 60. But if you see this condition, if this is no, obviously the average is less than 60. So I need not check it, directly check whether it is greater than or equal to 45. So if average greater than or equal to 45, if this is yes, display second class. And if it is not a distinction, not a first class, not a second class, obviously it is a third class. Hey, and all these things should be properly connected to the stop. Understood? Yes or no? DAF2, draw a flow chart. DAF2 accept score of a employee, score of a employee, score of a employee. Assign grade as follows. Assign grade as follows. Score greater than equal to 90, A grade. 80 to 89, B grade. 70 to 79, C grade. 60 to 69, D grade. 50 to 59, E grade. Less than 50, F grade. Now this problem is very similar to this one. Copy this and solve that. Any rough paper?
Hi sir, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
இதே இதுதான்பா நீ அந்த மேல மட்டும் மாத்தணும் ரெண்டா அனுப்பணும் கொட்டேஷன் இன்வாய்ஸ் அவ்வளவுதான்
அத அப்படியே மெயில் அனுப்பிடுறீங்களா?
அதுல பர்టిక్యులர்ஸ்ல வந்துட்டு என்ன பண்ணனும்னா இன்னொரு
First day, 23rd,
கொட்டேஷன் லைன்
இது வேணும்
5
Yes, sir.
மேல வந்து இந்த கம்பெனி பேர்
3 hour 30 minutes.
அந்த பில் நம்பர் மேல இன்னொரு பில் நம்பர் 1021 போட்டுக்கோ
25th, Tuesday, 3 hour 30 minutes.
டாக்ஸ் எல்லாம் முடிச்சு 70000
26th, Wednesday, 5 hour 30 minutes.
டாக்ஸ் முடிக்க மாட்டாங்க ஓகே
Thursday, 27th, 3 hour 30 minutes.
நுங்கம்பாக்கம் சென்னை இது போட்டு
Friday, 28th, 5 hour 30 minutes.
பர்టిక్యులர் என்னன்னா
Saturday, lecture was cancelled.
மைக்
Sunday, 5 hours.
நம்பர் 2 இது வந்து அமௌண்ட் அப்புறம் கீழ வந்து டோட்டல்
Monday, that was yesterday, 5 hours 30 minutes.
அக்கவுண்ட் டீடைல் அக்கவுண்ட் யார் பேர் அக்கவுண்ட்
And today, Tuesday, 3 hours 30 minutes.
பேன் நம்பர் அக்கவுண்ட் நம்பர் பேங்க் ஐஎஃப்எஸ்சி கோட் பிரான்ச் இது போட்டு
Then see,
கைண்ட்லி மேக் தி செக் இன் ஃபேவர் ஆஃப்
30, 30, 30, 30, 4 hours. I think you are right.
இதே மாதிரி வந்து மேல வந்து அந்த இன்வாய்ஸ் எடுத்து கொட்டேஷன் போட்டு
And
இது புரியுதுல உனக்கு
4, 5, 9, 9, 3, 12, 15, 20, 23, 33, 36 and 5, 41.
எப்படின்னா வந்துட்டு
You are right.
இன்வாய்ஸ்ல நீ பில்லு தந்துட்ட அந்த இன்வாய்ஸ் அப்புறம் அடுத்த காப்பி எடுத்துட்டு அதே மாதிரி அந்த இன்வாய்ஸ் எடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டு கொட்டேஷன் போட்டு
ஏத்துங்க பின்னாடி ஏத்துங்க ஆமா
இது உங்களுக்கு
ப்ராப்பரா
Okay, so we achieved a equilibrium. Halfway you.
கம்பெனி நேம் பா கம்பெனி நேம்
இதெல்லாம் ஓகே எனக்கு புரியுதுண்ணா இன்வாய்ஸ் கொட்டேஷன் மட்டும் போட்டுருங்க
இன்வாய்ஸ்
चलो बुलावा आया है, हमें बुलाया है,
जोर से बोलो जय
माता दी। चलो बुलावा आया है, घर वालों ने बुलाया है। हाँ, क्या हुआ? हो गया ना, अभी 20 मिनट बाकी है, खत्म। Finished, batch completed. No. तू पण नव्हता गेलास? मी पण नव्हतो गेलो. मी इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया करत होतो आणि अभ्यास करत होतो. सतीश, now will be
ऐसा
அதோட வீடியோ இருக்கா யார்கிட்ட ஏதாவது நவீன் கிட்ட இருக்குன்னு யோசிக்கிறேன்
मेबी but
Bye, sir.
bye. Finished. Finished. DAF 2. DAF 2. Display numbers from 1 to 10. DAF 2. Display numbers from 1 to 10. Now will you say display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? If you do that, my next question will be display numbers from 1 to 1 crore. Keep on doing it. No, this is not the right thing. Now in this particular problem, we are required to do one thing again and again. Some things will be repeated. So how this will be done? Loops. Yes, this is called as a loop. And this is a flow chart of type loop. Listen very carefully. We have said start. Yes or no? Start. Now, whenever we are going from 1 to 10, don't you think a variable is starting with a value 1? We are supposed to display 1, na? So we need a variable with a value 1. So I set the variable. I say set. I'll be saying set, and let's say it is I. Any variable I can give. Any name you can give. I, A, X, C, T, R, like counter, C, T, R, anything you can give. Equal to 1. Okay, now the value 1 is ready. Please don't write, concentrate. Is the value 1 ready? Can I immediately display it? So we say display what? Not 1, I. Now I am at 1. What is the value of I now? 1. How to go to 2? Add 1 to it. So I will say I equal to I plus 1. Okay. This is processing. So this is inside the processing box. Right? Now what will be the value of I now? 2. So I should again display it. So why to write display? I'll put it over here, na? The arrow should come over here. So 2 will be displayed. Plus 1 3 displayed, plus 1 4 displayed, plus 1 5 displayed, 6 displayed, 7 displayed, 8 displayed, 9 displayed, 10 displayed, 11 will be also displayed. And 11 will be also displayed, but that is not required. So we need to keep a check. That is a condition. So we are putting up a condition. If I less than equal to 10. If it is less than 10 only, then display it. If it is not less than 10, if the value you get it as 11, so this condition will be false. False means it will go to the no part, and no means what? Stop. Got it? This is called as a loop. Finished. DAF2 display the sum of numbers sum of numbers from 1 to 10. From 1 to 10. Now here's a basic difference in the output. Here I required output that was the actual numbers. Now I require the sum of those numbers. One needs to understand the question very properly. If you read the question, this should come in your mind. Am I right? How you will achieve this? Don't write any formula. It should be your logic. Now listen. This is also called as the logic of accumulation. It is called as the logic of accumulation. Listen. What I'll do is, one thing is understood, that I have to go from 1 to 10. So I will have the value, or I will have the variable I, which starts at 1, and this is how it goes up to 10. But I don't want to display the numbers. I want to add them and finally display the sum. So I'm using one more variable. This is one more variable. I take 1 from Satya and I add to it. What is the value then? What is the value of this sum? 1. Then I take 2 from Raj and I add to it. What it will be?
3.
I take 3 from Rahul and I add to it.
6.
I take 4 from Bal Kumar and I add it.
10.
Okay? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I won't take the 11th. With this particular control, I won't be taking 11. And once the loop is finished, before stopping, I will just display the output. Understanding? Getting it? Okay, now let's see how this is done. This is supposed to be the last flow chart. Please concentrate, don't write. I'll say start. Hello, start. I require certain variables. One will be counting from 1 to 10. So I say set I equal to 1. And I said I require one more variable. Let's say that is sum, which will be obviously 0. Okay? Now what? Start with the accumulation. How to accumulate? We will be having a sort of formula, you can say, or logic, sum equal to sum plus I. So I will be added to sum. See, sum is 0. I is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. And that is transferred inside sum. So sum becomes 1. And how will I get the next I? I equal to I plus 1. Okay? Now this should continue till the value of I becomes how much? 10. So I say if I less than equal to 10, if this is yes, then only this should happen. Again it should be happen. Now I value will become 2. It comes over here. The value was 1. 1 plus 2, 3. This will become 3. 3 plus 3, 6. This will become 4. 6 plus 4, 10. Till it becomes 10. If it becomes 11, no, we won't stop. Before stopping, we have to display. So we say, display what? Sum. And then we have stop.